More horrifying details about what happened inside Robb Elementary School continue to shock us. We now know that Eva Morales, one of the two teachers killed, called her husband as she lay shot and dying and asked him for help. Her husband, a police officer for the Uvalde School District, then attempted to move toward the classrooms where Morales was trapped. However, other officers on the scene detained him, took his gun away, and escorted him out of the room.
So he was doing what you're supposed to do, which is go rush the shooter, fearing correctly for his wife's life. She died, possibly because help did not come fast enough. I mean, that's the thing. Like in this situation, the people in that room are shot and dying. Some of them dead, some of them still alive. Some later died in the hospital, on the way to the hospital. And they're just standing around. They're just standing around while people who had loved ones in danger, like that police officer, like the parents outside, tried to help, and then the on-scene commander and others were like, no, we got this, but they didn't get it.
Yeah, to the extent that any of these law enforcement officers deserved a presumption of good faith, it's long gone. It's long gone. I'm sorry. And now we're inclined to, I'm personally, I'll speak for myself, inclined to believe every bad fact that comes down the transom, obviously, in my personal capacity, not here, because so far, pretty much every one of them has borne fruit. Every trickle of new information that makes the cops look very, very bad has borne fruit. And frankly, when I go back to our first days of coverage and look at all the benefit of the doubt we are extending to the cops, I'm almost embarrassed by it because they didn't earn it. And in fact, I don't know, it would be hard to design a worse outcome than this.
You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe failure on this level was possible. There's not, we don't have the right framework to punish this level of wrongdoing. They should be exiled to Antarctica or something.
I wonder if we're going to start to hear from folks
what if you're this police officer who was held back, whose wife died, possibly because you couldn't get to her fast enough, and you were held back? I mean, how do you even recover psychologically from something like that?
Because there's this element of, okay, fine, I'll trust the authority figures, I'll trust the members of my own department. I understand, you could think to yourself, I understand that there are protocol and that I could actually disrupt the efforts to save these folks if I were to rush in and become a distraction. Okay, so fine, I'll let them to it. But that's, to me, the real tragedy of this. The idea that people who were willing to do the brave thing deferred to the police officers, deferred to the authority, believing them when they said that they had it.
Right.
And then to be confronted with that footage of them standing around in the hallway.
Every rush in and attack the shooter is actually the right thing to do. It's actually what the recommendation is. The recommendation is not, okay, let's take our time, let's get this right, let's take stock of the situation, let's make sure we got all the gear. Is that door locked? Well, let's get a key in here just in case. Do we have snipers? Do we have more body armor? Do we have more shields? Do we have more backup? Do we have more people? That is not what you're supposed to do. That's not what you're supposed to do. And then they try to call to him. You can't reason with this kind of person in this scenario.
Right.
It's never been shown.
Where they asked the student to speak up.
Are you still?
And the student called out, and then that student got shot as a consequence. Which is all against protocol to ask the students to vocalize. I don't know, man.
Real bad. What can you say? What is left to be said?
And we're going to keep hearing more because I suspect we're going to hear more from family members. More details will emerge. I'm especially interested to hear from this widow cop because he probably has some significant insights into what's going on in the department. And frankly, the fact that there were so many people on the scene and the uniform response, that all of these police officers basically apparently followed their order not to go into the room. It almost feels like a Milgram experiment situation where, there's somebody who authoritatively must have been saying, don't do the obvious thing that we should do. And I know that people have to be really, really wrestling with their own personal demons as they question why it's what seems so clear at the time in retrospect, Monday morning quarterbacking wasn't the course of action.